Have you ever wondered why some women become an unforgettable presence in a man's mind? It's not about their beauty, their success, or even the memories they created together. It's about a single question they leave behind, a question that quietly echoes in his thoughts long after they've gone, often keeping him awake at night. This isn't about playing games or mastering seduction. It's about something far deeper, an energy that is cultivated in silence and solitude. It is the power of a woman who has journeyed inward, who has chosen a path of deliberate abstinence, not as a form of deprivation, but as an act of profound self-reclamation. Most women are taught to believe that their value in the world of attraction is tied to what they give, how they perform, and how well they can meet a man's needs. You learn to be the attentive listener, the supportive partner, the charming date. You share your energy, your body, your time, and your emotional support, often in the hope that your value will be recognized and returned. You become an expert at reading the room, at anticipating what he wants to hear, and at shaping yourself into the ideal partner he seems to be looking for. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself what happens to you in that process? When you are constantly focused outward, trying to secure love and validation from another person, the connection to your own inner world begins to fade. Your own voice becomes a whisper, drowned out by the noise of seeking approval. The woman who leaves an unforgettable question in a man's mind operates from a completely different principle. She isn't focused on him at all. Her focus is turned inward. She has chosen a period of abstinence, creating a sacred space for herself, free from the pressures of dating and the need for external validation. This period is not about waiting for a man or punishing herself. It's about a courageous journey to meet the parts of herself she had forgotten or was never taught to know. In psychological terms, we all have hidden aspects of our personality, parts of ourselves that we keep in the dark, because we fear they are not lovable or acceptable. You might call this your unseen self. It holds your deepest fears, your unfulfilled desires, your raw power, and your untamed creativity. When you are constantly dating and seeking connection, you rarely have the quiet space needed to face this unseen self. Instead, you keep it hidden, fearing that if a man saw it, he would leave. But the woman who embraces abstinence does the opposite. She intentionally walks into that inner darkness. She sits with her loneliness until it no longer feels like a void, but a space of peaceful solitude. She confronts her need for validation until she realizes that the only approval she ever truly needed was her own. She stops running from her past hurts and instead allows them to teach her about her own resilience. Through this process, she is not just healing, she is becoming whole. She is integrating all these hidden parts of herself into a complete and powerful being. She discovers that her worth is not something to be earned from a man. It is an undeniable truth that exists within her, independent of anyone's opinion. When a man encounters a woman like this, he is met with something he cannot categorize or control. He is used to a dynamic where a woman seeks something from him: his attention, his commitment, his approval. This creates a predictable dance of pursuit and validation. But the woman who has found her wholeness through her inner journey doesn't need anything from him. She is not performing for his approval. She is not laughing at his jokes to make him feel comfortable. She is not sharing her vulnerabilities to create a quick sense of intimacy. She is simply present. Her presence is grounded, calm, and self-contained. She is a complete world unto herself, and she invites no one in who is not meant to be there. This is profoundly disarming for a man. He might try to use his usual charm or wit, but it doesn't quite land in the way he expects. He might offer validation or compliments, but he can sense that she doesn't absorb them like someone starved for approval. She can appreciate his words, but her self-worth isn't affected by them. He is faced with a woman who is not a mirror reflecting his desires back at him, but a deep, still lake reflecting the truth of her own soul. He can sense a vast inner world within her, a landscape he knows nothing about, and he realizes he has no map to navigate it. He cannot figure her out because she is not a puzzle to be solved. She is a sovereign being, and this is what gives birth to the question that stays in his mind. Late at night, when the distractions of the day fade, his thoughts will return to her. The question isn't, "What did I do wrong?" or "How can I win her over?" The question is much simpler and far more powerful. Who is she? It's a question born of awe and mystery. He is not just thinking about her physical form or her personality, he is contemplating her essence. He's wondering about the source of her inner peace, the quiet strength in her eyes, the reason she is so complete on her own. He is trying to understand the depth he felt in her presence, a depth that he has likely never encountered before. This question haunts him because it points to a level of self-possession and inner freedom that is incredibly rare. He has met a woman who does not need him, and because of that, he finds himself wanting to understand the world she has built within herself, a world that is so rich and full that it requires nothing from the outside. This question he asks himself, who is she, is not merely a fleeting curiosity. It is the beginning of a profound internal shift for him, because he has encountered a woman who embodies a rare and powerful psychological balance. To understand this, we have to look deeper into the inner architecture of the self. Within every person, regardless of gender, exist two fundamental energies. Think of one as the energy of being. It is intuitive, creative, nurturing, and flowing. It is the part of you that connects, feels, and experiences the world in a deeply personal way. The other is the energy of doing. It is logical, structured, protective, and directed. It is the part of you that builds, decides, sets boundaries, and moves toward a goal. For a person to feel truly whole, these two energies must be in harmony. However, society often teaches you as a woman to over-cultivate one while neglecting the other. You are encouraged to be nurturing, empathetic, and accommodating, to excel in the energy of being. You become a master of connection, a source of emotional warmth for others. But what about the other side? What about your own internal source of direction, structure, and protection? Too often, you are subtly taught that this energy is not yours to develop. Instead, you are led to believe that you should find a man to provide it for you. He is supposed to be your rock, your protector, the one who gives your life direction and purpose. And so, you may find yourself unconsciously seeking a partner to complete you, to provide the stability and forward momentum you haven't yet built within yourself. Have you ever felt a sense of aimlessness when you're not in a relationship? A feeling that your life lacks a clear purpose or a solid foundation? This is a common experience, and it's not a personal failing. It is often the result of this conditioned imbalance. When your internal doing energy is underdeveloped, you look to the external world, specifically to a man, to fill that role. This creates a fragile dependency. Your sense of security becomes tied to his presence. Your life's direction becomes intertwined with his. Your boundaries become soft and negotiable because you fear that holding firm will risk the connection that provides you with that borrowed sense of structure. This is the unconscious bargain many women make in the pursuit of love. They trade their own inner authority for the promise of external security. The path of abstinence shatters this bargain. When you deliberately step away from the pursuit of a partner, you remove the external source of that structured energy. There is no one to provide direction, no one to act as your protector, no one to be your rock. At first, this can feel terrifying. The silence and solitude can amplify that feeling of being unmoored. But this is precisely where the transformation begins. In this space, you are faced with a choice. You can either to feel lost, or you can begin to build that missing structure within yourself. You start to become your own source of stability. You learn to make decisions not based on what might attract a partner, but on what aligns with your own deepest values. This is where you begin to consciously cultivate your own inner doing energy. You set goals for yourself, not to impress anyone, but for the sheer satisfaction of achieving them. You create routines and disciplines that ground you, building a foundation of self-reliance. Most importantly, you learn the art of setting boundaries. These are not walls you put up to keep people out. They are the clear lines you draw to protect your inner world. You learn to say no, not as an act of rejection, but as an act of self-respect. You realize that your energy is a precious resource, and you stop giving it away to people and situations that do not honor you. You become your own protector, your own provider of safety and order. As you do this work, something remarkable happens. You are not becoming more masculine. You are becoming more whole. Your nurturing, intuitive side doesn't disappear. It flourishes because it is now safe. Your innate softness is now supported by an unshakable inner strength. Your empathy is guided by clear-sighted wisdom. You can be both compassionate and boundaried, both vulnerable and resilient. This integration is the source of the profound inner peace he senses in you. He meets a woman who is not a chaotic sea of emotions needing to be managed, nor a rigid fortress needing to be conquered. She is a self-sustaining ecosystem, both flowing and grounded, open and protected. When a man interacts with a woman in this state of wholeness, he feels an entirely new dynamic. He cannot easily slot her into the familiar roles of the damsel who needs saving, or the caregiver who exists to nurture him. He might unconsciously test her boundaries, as people often do, but he finds they are not brittle walls that crack under pressure. They are flexible but firm, rooted in a deep sense of self-worth. He can't manipulate her with the promise of a future because her present is already so full and self-directed. He cannot become the center of her universe because she is the sun in her own. This wholeness is the answer to his unspoken question. The reason he cannot figure her out is because she is not one half of a whole seeking its match. She is a universe unto herself, and her presence quietly invites him to wonder about the vastness of his own. Her wholeness is what he senses, but what he is truly experiencing is a woman who has fundamentally changed her relationship with time. For most people, life is an anxious pendulum swinging between the past and the future. You are either haunted by regrets and old hurts, or you are striving to control an uncertain future. The present moment becomes a brief, often overlooked stopover between these two powerful forces. Have you ever been on a date, but your mind was somewhere else entirely? Perhaps you were silently comparing this new person to an ex, searching for familiar red flags and bracing for a disappointment you've already lived through. Or maybe you were projecting forward, trying to imagine a future with them, wondering if they are the one, and calculating the right moves to secure that outcome. In either case, you are not truly present. You are interacting with ghosts or with fantasies. When your energy is tied up in the past, you carry emotional baggage that colors every new experience. A past betrayal can make you suspicious and guarded. A past abandonment can make you clingy and anxious. You reacting not to the person in front of you, but to a composite of everyone who has ever hurt you. This is a deeply ingrained survival mechanism. Your mind is trying to protect you from repeating painful patterns. But in doing so, it traps you in a cycle, preventing you from ever experiencing anything or anyone with fresh eyes. You are living in a psychological prison built from the bricks of yesterday's pain. On the other of the pendulum is the obsession with the future. This is often driven by the very same fears that chain you to the past. The fear of being hurt again becomes a desperate need for certainty. The fear of ending up alone becomes a frantic search for commitment. You might find yourself trying to define the relationship too early, needing constant reassurance of where things are going. This creates an energy of urgency and neediness. You are trying to grasp and control the future because you don't feel safe in the present. Your happiness becomes a destination you are trying to reach, a committed relationship, a marriage, a family, rather than a state of being you can inhabit right now. A man can feel this pressure. He senses that he is not being seen as a person, but as a solution to an unspoken anxiety. The period of abstinence is a powerful crucible for healing this broken relationship with time. When you are truly alone with no romantic prospects to distract you, the ghosts of the past have no choice but to come forward. The silence amplifies their whispers. You are forced to confront the memories and the stories you have told yourself about them. You might revisit the pain of a first heartbreak, the sting of being misunderstood, or the anger of being let down. But this time, you are not doing it to torture yourself. You are doing it to understand. The woman on this journey learns to sit with these old emotions without letting them consume her. She begins to see her past not as a collection of failures and wounds, but as a series of lessons that forged her strength. She learns that the story she tells herself about her past is a choice. She can choose to see herself as a victim of circumstances, forever damaged by what happened. Or she can choose to see herself as a survivor, a resilient soul who walked through fire and emerged with wisdom. She integrates her past not by erasing it, but by reclaiming it as part of her heroic journey. It no longer defines her in a limiting way, it informs the depth of her character. As she makes peace with her past, her anxiety about the future begins to dissolve. She no longer needs a relationship to validate her worth or secure her happiness. She is already whole and content in her present. Her future is not a scary, empty void that needs to be filled by a man, but an open field of infinite possibilities that she is excited to explore on her own terms. This is the source of the profound stillness he feels from her. When he is with her, he has her complete attention. Her gaze is not clouded by the memory of an ex, nor is her mind racing ahead to plan their future. She is simply there with him in that moment. She listens not to analyze or predict, but to understand. She shares not to impress or create a specific effect, but to genuinely connect. This level of presence is incredibly rare and deeply captivating. It feels like a sanctuary of calm in a chaotic world. He is used to women who are either guarded because of their past or anxious about their future. He knows the dance of reassurance and the game of managing expectations. With her, there is no dance. There is no game. There is only the quiet, powerful truth of the present moment. He finds he can't use his usual tactics to gauge her interest. She doesn't give off signals of desperation or neediness that he can leverage for control. Her lack of attachment to a specific outcome gives her an unshakable freedom. He senses that she would be perfectly fine with or without him, not because she is cold or uninterested, but because her happiness is not contingent on him. It is generated from within. And this is what amplifies his question: who is she? He is not just encountering a woman. He is encountering a state of being, a profound peace that comes from being fully anchored in the now. It makes him deeply aware of his own inner chaos, the way his own mind is constantly pulled between past and future, and he begins to wonder what it would be like to be that free. Her freedom from the past and future is what captivates him, but what truly leaves an indelible mark is her relationship with a force that most people spend their lives trying to avoid: emptiness. In our culture, emptiness is seen as a problem to be solved. An empty Kaler must be filled with social events. An empty house must be filled with noise. An empty evening must be filled with entertainment. You are taught from a young age that to be alone is to be lonely, and that silence is something to be feared. This fear of emptiness drives so much of modern dating. Have you ever reached for your phone to text someone, not because you had something important to say, but because the silence of your own company felt too heavy? Have you ever agreed to a date with someone you weren't truly excited about, simply to avoid a Saturday night alone? This is a collective flight from the self. You use other people, their attention, their drama, their presence, as a buffer against the discomfort of your own inner world. A relationship becomes a convenient distraction from the difficult questions that arise in solitude. Who am I when no one is watching? What do I truly want from my life? Am I happy with the person I have become? These are not easy questions, and the noise of a romantic partnership can effectively drown them out. You might even find yourself creating or tolerating drama in a relationship just to feel something, to fill the void. The intense highs and lows of a toxic connection can feel more alive than the quiet stillness of being by yourself. So you choose the familiar chaos over the intimidating peace. The woman who chooses abstinence walks directly into the heart of this feared emptiness. The initial experience is often challenging. When the distractions are gone, no dating apps to scroll, no new flirtations to analyze, no partner's needs to attend to, the silence can be deafening. In this space, all the things you have been running from begin to surface. Your insecurities, your feelings of not being good enough, your deep-seated fears of abandonment, they all rise to the top. The emptiness, at first, feels like a confirmation of your worst fears, that you are fundamentally alone and that something is missing within you. Many people turn back at this point. The discomfort is too great, and they dive back into the dating pool, seeking the familiar anesthetic of external validation. But the woman on a true journey of self-reclamation stays. She learns to sit in that discomfort. She breathes through the anxiety. This is where a profound insight, echoed in ancient Stoic wisdom, begins to take root. The feeling of emptiness is not a sign that something is missing from you, but an invitation to discover what is already within you. She realizes that the void is not a void at all. It is an open space. It is a canvas waiting for her to create upon it. She starts to fill that space not with the noise of others, but with the richness of her own being. She rediscovers hobbies she had let go of. She pursues interests that are purely for her own joy, not for the purpose of being more attractive to a partner. She might learn a new language, take up painting, start a challenging physical practice, or simply learn to enjoy the art of doing nothing at all. She is cultivating what psychologists call a strong inner locus of control. This means her sense of fulfillment and happiness is generated from within, not dependent on external circumstances or people. She is no longer looking for someone to complete her because she is actively completing herself. The silence that once felt threatening now becomes a source of clarity and creativity. The solitude that once felt like loneliness now feels like a luxurious and necessary state of freedom. She has befried the emptiness and discovered that it is the fertile ground from which her true, authentic self can grow. When a man meets a woman who has cultivated this deep inner richness, he is encountering a completely different energetic signature. He is used to women whose lives, however subtly, seem to have a partner-shaped hole in them. He can sense the unspoken expectation that he is meant to fill that space, to be the source of her entertainment, her emotional regulation, and her sense of purpose. This can feel like a heavy burden, even if he enjoys the ego boost it provides. With the self-possessed woman, he feels none of that pressure. He can sense that her life is already full, vibrant, and meaningful on its own. He might ask her, "What did you do this week?" and expect to hear about dates or social outings. Instead, she might tell him about a book that captivated her, a project she is passionate about, or a peaceful hike she took alone. Her joy is not performative, it is genuine. He realizes that he is not the main event in her life. He is, at best, a potential guest in a world she has already beautifully built for herself. This is both intimidating and incredibly attractive. It shatters the conventional male egoic script of being the provider of a woman's happiness. He cannot give her a life because she already has one. He cannot rescue her from loneliness because she has befried her own solitude. And this leaves him with a deeper, more unsettling version of his question. It's no longer just who is she, it becomes what is the source of her fulfillment? He is confronted with the reality of a woman who has found a universe within herself, a universe that does not require a king. And this makes him question the very foundation of what he thought a man was supposed to offer a woman, and what a relationship is truly for. His question about her fulfillment leads him to an even more perplexing and magnetic aspect of her character: her relationship with her own power. Society often presents a very narrow and distorted view of female power. It's frequently equated with overt control, professional ambition that mirrors a masculine model, or a manipulative form of allure. You are either the commanding boss lady who sacrifices her softness, or the seductive charmer who uses her appeal to get what she wants. Many women, in an attempt to feel powerful, adopt one of these roles. You might find yourself becoming more aggressive and competitive in your career, feeling that you have to suppress your empathy to be taken seriously. Or you might lean heavily into your feminine charm, learning to wield attention and desire as tools to influence others. Have you ever felt like you were playing a part to feel in control? Putting on a mask of toughness to hide your vulnerability, or amplifying your charm to steer a situation in your favor? While these strategies can bring short-term gains, they come at a high cost. They disconnect you from your authentic self. When you adopt a persona of power, you are implicitly admitting that you believe your true self is not powerful enough. You are relying on a manufactured image, and this creates a constant, low-level anxiety. You live in fear of being found out, of having your mask slip and revealing the person underneath who you believe is weak or inadequate. This is not true power. It is a performance of power. The journey of abstinence offers a path to discovering a different kind of power, one that is not performed, but embodied. When you step away from the social and romantic stage, the need to perform for an audience diminishes. There is no one to impress, no one to control, no one whose opinion you need to manage. In this quiet space, you are left with only yourself. This is where you can begin the essential work of what is sometimes called shadow integration. Your shadow is not an evil or bad part of you. It is simply the collection of all the traits you have disowned and repressed because you were taught they were unacceptable. This can include your anger, your ambition, your assertiveness, your wildness, and your unapologetic desires. As a woman, you may have been taught that your anger is unladylike, so you learn to swallow it, letting it curdle into resentment or passive aggression. You may have been taught that your ambition is too aggressive, so you learn to downplay your goals and shrink your dreams. You may have been taught that your desires are shameful, so you learn to hide them, even from yourself. The process of abstinence, of turning inward, allows you to meet these disowned parts. You learn that your anger is not a destructive force, but a powerful signal that a boundary has been crossed. It is a sacred protector. You learn that your ambition is not something to be ashamed of, but the voice of your soul calling you toward your purpose. You learn that your desires are not wrong, but a vital part of your life force. By welcoming these parts back into yourself, you are reclaiming your full spectrum. You are no longer a good girl who is only ever nice, accommodating, and gentle. You are a whole woman who can be both kind and fierce, both compassionate and unyielding, both receptive and decisive. Your power is no longer located in an external performance. It is rooted in this inner wholeness. It is a quiet, unshakable confidence that comes from knowing and accepting every part of yourself, light and shadow. This is authentic power. It doesn't need to be loud or aggressive because it is not trying to prove anything. It is a calm, centered energy that radiates from your very being. When a man encounters a woman who embodies this authentic power, he is utterly disarmed. He is used to the two predictable masks: the woman who competes with him for dominance or the woman who submits to his. He has a script for both. He knows how to challenge the competitor and how to control the submissive. But the authentically powerful woman fits neither category. She does not compete with him because she is not interested in his power. She is secure in her own. She does not defer to him because she does not see him as an authority figure in her life. She relates to him as an equal sovereign being. He might say something provocative, expecting a fight or a retreat. Instead, she might meet his words with a calm, unwavering gaze and a simple statement of her truth, without aggression or defensiveness. Her lack of reaction is not weakness. It is a sign of immense inner stability. She has nothing to prove and nothing to defend. He might try to impress her with his achievements or status, but he will sense that she is not easily swayed by external markers of power. She is more interested in his character, his integrity, his essence. He realizes he cannot dominate her, but he also feels no need to. Her power is not a threat to his. It is an invitation for him to meet her at a higher level of authenticity himself. This is profoundly unsettling for a man who has built his identity around the traditional dynamics of power and control. It makes his question, "Who is she?" evolve yet again. Now he is asking, how can she be so powerful without even trying? He is witnessing a strength that is so integrated and natural that it operates without effort, and it reveals the flimsy, performative nature of his own understanding of power. The final piece of the puzzle that keeps him awake at night is not something she does, but something she fundamentally embodies: emotional sovereignty. Most relationships, to varying degrees, operate on a system of unspoken emotional transactions. You give your partner emotional support in the hope of receiving it back. You make yourself available to soothe their anxieties, hoping they will do the same for you. You share your vulnerabilities to elicit a feeling of closeness and to test their capacity for care. This creates a subtle but powerful codependency. Your emotional state becomes entangled with theirs. Have you ever felt your own mood plummet simply because your partner was having a bad day? Or felt a surge of anxiety when they seemed distant, immediately wondering what you did wrong? This is a sign of an externalized emotional center. You are, in essence, making another person responsible for your feelings. You look to them to be your source of happiness, your validator when you feel insecure, and your comforter when you are sad. This dynamic is incredibly common and often mistaken for love and intimacy, but it is a fragile foundation for any connection. It turns your partner into an emotional caretaker, a role that is exhausting and unsustainable. It also leaves you incredibly vulnerable. If they are unavailable, upset, or simply need space, your entire emotional world can collapse. You are not in control of your own inner weather, you are at the mercy of someone else's. The path of abstinence forces a radical shift in this dynamic. By removing the relational partner, you remove the primary person you have designated as your emotional regulator. When you feel sad, there is no one to immediately call for comfort. When you feel insecure, there is no one to text for a quick dose of validation. When you feel anxious, there is no one's presence to use as a calming agent. You are left alone with your own feelings in all their intensity and discomfort. The initial impulse is to panic, to find a substitute, a fry, a family member, any distraction to avoid the raw experience of your own emotions. But the woman committed to her inner journey learns to resist this impulse. She learns to become her own emotional caretaker. This is a profound and life-altering skill. Instead of running from a feeling like sadness, she learns to sit with it, to listen to what it is trying to tell her. She learns to self-soothe, not by numbing or distracting, but by offering herself the same compassion and understanding she once sought from others. She becomes her own best friend. When insecurity arises, instead of seeking external reassurance, she turns inward and questions the belief that is causing the feeling. She learns to validate herself, to anchor her self-worth in her own character and integrity, not in someone else's approval. This is the essence of emotional sovereignty. It is the realization that you are the sole authority of your inner kingdom. Your emotions are your citizens. They are not your rulers. You can listen to them, honor them, and learn from them, but you do not let them dictate your actions or your sense of self. You develop an unshakable inner core, a center of peace that is not dependent on external conditions. Your happiness is not a fleeting state gifted to you by a partner. It is a deep well you have dug within yourself. This doesn't mean you become an unfeeling robot. On the contrary, you become capable of feeling more deeply and authentically because you are no longer afraid of your emotions. You know you have the capacity to hold them all without being overwhelmed. When a man interacts with a woman who has achieved this level of emotional sovereignty, it is a paradigm-shifting experience for him. He is used to being in one of two roles with women, either the fixer who is expected to solve her emotional problems, or the source of them, walking on eggshells to avoid upsetting her. He has learned to manage female emotion, to placate it, to navigate it. With the sovereign woman, there is nothing to manage. She does not make him responsible for her happiness. If she has a difficult day, she doesn't present it to him as a problem he needs to solve. She might share her experience, but it is from a place of wholeness, not from a place of need. He might find himself in a situation where he says or does something that would typically trigger an insecure or angry reaction in other women. Instead of lashing out or retreating into wounded silence, she might simply state how it made her feel, without blame or accusation, and then hold her boundary. She is not using her emotions as a weapon to control him or as a bid for attention. She is simply owning her experience and taking care of herself. He realizes that he cannot emotionally manipulate her. Guilt trips don't work. Grandiose promises to make her happy don't have the same effect. He cannot be her hero because she is not a damsel in distress. She has already saved herself. This is the final haunting chord in the symphony of his thoughts about her. The question, who is she, is answered with a truth that is both liberating and terrifying. She is a woman who needs nothing from him, not for her validation, not for her direction, not for her fulfillment, not for her power, and not for her emotional stability. He has met a woman who is not looking for a man to complete her, but for a man who is whole enough to stand beside her in her own completeness. This changes everything. It means that if she were to choose him, it would not be out of need, but out of a pure, conscious, and sovereign choice. And the weight of that possibility, the prospect of being chosen by a woman so profoundly free, is the question that will stay with him forever. The woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, she chooses.